My name is Amish Pierce, and I came with the Goodman Oaks Youth Group in South Haven, Mississippi. My sister made me do some dumb stuff as a kid. One time she told me to drive home from Walmart when I was underage, but I wasn't going to pass up that opportunity. Another was she told me to shoot a piece of sheet metal that was on a tree with my BB gun. But the thing was, I wasn't supposed to shoot my BB gun without my parents around. When I shot the piece of sheet metal, the BB came back and hit me. Also, she told me to pick up a walnut and go touch an electric fence. But I was scared to, because I didn't want to get shot. She told me, nothing is going to happen. You will be fine.
Right.
And she convinced me to do it. But in fact, she was wrong. Something was going to happen, and I got electrocuted. Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, was like me. He didn't go and seek help from wiser people. He didn't think he needed their help. But in reality, we all need help, especially from God. We know he didn't listen to his father's counsel in 2 Chronicles 10, verses 6 through 8. For it says, Then King Rehoboam took counsel with his old men, who had stood before Solomon, his father, while he was yet alive, saying, How do you advise me to answer this people? And they said to him, If you will be good to this people, and please him, and speak good words to them, they will be your servants forever. But he abandoned the counsel that the old men gave him, and took counsel with young men who he had grown up with. In verse 7, the counsel tells him to be good to the people and speak good words to them, which isn't necessarily bad. The bad thing is, they want Rehoboam to please the people. You don't please people because if you did, nothing would get done that needed to get done. You don't please people because we could be taking advantage of their emotions. So he abandoned the counsel and went to his friends that he had grew up with. His friends, in fact, told him to do the exact opposite. Let's look at what they told Rehoboam to do in verses 10 and 11. And the young men who had grown up with him said to him, Thus shall you speak to the people who said to you, Your father made our yoke heavy, but you lighten it for us. Thus shall you say to them, My little finger is thicker than my father's thighs. And now, whereas my father laid on you a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father disciplined you with whips, but I will discipline you with scorpions. In verses 13 and 14, he spoke harshly to his father's counsel and said that he would add to his father's yokes. He told the council that his father Solomon disciplined them with whips, but Rehoboam was going to discipline them with scorpions. So through the rest of the chapter 10, we see that the people of Israel didn't really like the new king. King Rehoboam sent his father's taskmaster, Hadram, and the people of Israel stoned Hadram to death. When Rehoboam heard the news of Hadram, he ran to his chariot and fled to Jerusalem. In chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, we read, When the rule of Rehoboam was established, and he was strong, he abandoned the law of the Lord and all of Israel with him. In the 5th year of King Rehoboam, because he had been unfaithful to the Lord, Shishak, the king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem. So we know that he was strong in the beginning, but he abandoned the Lord and Israel. King Rehoboam was bad enough for abandoning God's chosen land, Israel, but he abandoned the law of the Lord. That's why he was in so much trouble with the people of Israel, and why he fled to Jerusalem. That's why in his 5th year of reign, he was unfaithful to the Lord, and his fortified cities were taken over by the Egyptian king, King Shishak. So if Rehoboam would have sought the Lord in his reign, then he wouldn't have to deal with fleeing like he did in the start of his reign. He wouldn't have had to fortify cities in Judah or his cities taken over. This is why elderly people tell us to go to God first. Have you ever talked to an elderly person
Mm.
and they give you really good advice? Do you know why they give such great advice? It's because they have lived through what you are going through. They have lived lives of mistake and sin. They know what to do in those types of situations when you are stressed out or you have something on your chest and you need to get it off. Because God will listen to you and He will forgive you because He is a merciful God. This is why elderly people have such strong faith. They go to God in prayer, just like in chapter 11, verses 16 and a little bit of 17. And those who had set their hearts to seek the Lord God of Israel came to them after all the tribes of Israel to Jerusalem to sacrifice to the Lord, the God of their fathers. They strengthened the kingdom of Judah. So if we set our hearts to seek the Lord, He will strengthen us and make us whole.